Yeah, sure. Counterpoint. I was actually up on the Illinois working with the Senate Banking Committee. The files are up there. Obviously, we're talking about a country with a lack of institutional development that exists in Equatorial Guinea. When the Spanish left, they took the court system with the judges, the law books, everything but the chairs. Banking system, same way. So they're having to create, this is, you know, I mean, I was 10 years old when they gained independence, so I'm not an old man. I'm getting old, but the point is that this has happened, this is recent history, this is not ancient history, when they basically started from scratch. And it's just unrealistic to expect them to be able to create these institutions, particularly during the period of poverty that they suffered up until '95 when oil revenue started to show up. So they've got 15 years essentially to do this, and starting to develop a modern society that meets our standards. It's just unrealistic to think they could do so quickly. Anyway, the basic discovery in Rick's Bank issue was that Rick's Bank was playing fast and loose with the rules. And we, the U.S. government, recommended them that they, you know, help them find the Rick's Bank as one of the legacy institutions, important institutions here in town. So they accepted advice, bad advice, from Rick's Bank, and made mistakes as a result. But it was the bank itself that suffered the punishments, beat it out by the government, as you pointed out, not the regime. That's not to say that they're managing their money the way they should, and that there aren't issues of leakage and corruption. I'm not making that claim. I'm just saying that to keep raising Rick's Bank and the genocide during the Messias period, from which there has been, I would argue, a pretty clean break, it is not a productive way, a constructive way to lead this little country, increasingly important because of its strategic position, out of the wilderness.
Well, I mean, let me ask about that. So the Rick's Bank case was roughly $50 million a month in oil revenue, which in most circumstances would be public revenue that went to an outside account, this time at Rick's Bank. In terms of transparency, there is nothing, and I asked the ambassador to the U.S. at the time about this, there is nothing preventing the government from making those accounts public here, since it's not a capacity issue. The money is housed at Rick's Bank in the U.S. And more importantly, it's not a capacity issue if the president and his family spend $3.8 billion of that money to buy houses in Potomac, Maryland. And subsequent to that, there's been another $26 million of assets identified in Spain, millions of dollars identified there, $35 million for the president's son's house in California, $7 million in South Africa and Cape Town, $1.45 million in luxury cars in Cape Town for the president's son. So where is the capacity problem in this? I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand. This sounds to me like straight corruption that should be exposed and dealt with, because that money belongs to people in Equatorial Guinea, the small country of less than around 500,000 people that certainly would benefit from what appears to be well over $50 million in assets that could be spent on education or something else. I mean, that would be my view on it. I think it would certainly benefit the people of Equatorial Guinea to make that information public and see how they want their money used.
Well, before we take other comments, I wanted to see if Tutu or Bennett, you had any comments about Mr. Smith's statement that there's a very free flow of information in Equatorial Guinea and that there are, quote, no inhibitions on association.
Yeah, I'm a convener. No, I think, I don't know, I mean, I haven't, to be fair to Mr. Smith, he's been in Equatorial Guinea more recently than I have. I do know, for instance, from talking to people in Equatorial Guinea, there is a political party right now, the CPDS, who was trying to start a radio station. This is an independent organization, an independent political party, nonetheless. They were starting to start a radio station, and I know that the equipment that they had been confiscated. And they were actually told by the Minister of Interior that that radio station was a weapon of some sort. I can exactly recall what type of weapon he attributed that radio station to be, but certainly I think if we cannot allow a political opposition group that's supposed to be coming to a presidential election at the end of the year to have its own radio station and reach out to its people and disseminate information about what it is that their policies are, it seems to me that we have to re-examine the argument about free flow of information. So again, he has been there more recently than I have, and I'll need to, test exactly what Mr. Smith is talking about in terms of free flow of information. But from what I know from people there inside the country, that comment does not seem to be completely accurate.
I just had two things. I mean, I was struck by the Chargé's opening comment that the Human Rights Watch report, quote unquote, describes a country I don't know. And I would simply observe, as one who used to be in the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor, that while this new Human Rights Watch report discloses many facts that are not contained in the most recent State Department country reports on human rights released several months ago, then that report this year, like its predecessors in previous years on Equatorial Guinea, nonetheless paints a portrait of a country where there is, with a poor human rights record, with very poor rule of law, governance, and lack of real civil society. The report clearly lays that out. So, of course, there are many, many different new details in this new report. This new report is of a much wider scope than the country reports on human rights, but I do see some resemblance between the Human Rights Watch report and the State Department's own reporting. The only other comment I would make is one that I had the chance to make to Mr. Smith when we met together with several others last summer, is that it would be especially timely and helpful for you and for others in the embassy in Malabo to really work hard to help this EITI process move forward. And I understand Arvin's concerns about how the EITI process might be misused, whether in Equatorial Guinea or elsewhere, but I do think that there's a significant role not only already being played, I think, by the companies in supporting implementation in terms of some of the technical accounting capabilities, but by the embassy in really getting the message across that validation is in the government's interest and that validation just won't occur without legitimate civil society participation in the process. I have no illusion that civil society can be created overnight or even in the next year or two in a country like Equatorial Guinea against the backdrop that we're familiar with. But we're hoping at least that the U.S. Embassy can, within the context of EITI and more broadly, take some concrete actions to really encourage that development.